US 322. Yeah! Alright, hello everyone, I am Cornerwatch437, and today we are doing a reboot of my US 322 Eastbound video, which was the very first Control City video I ever posted to this channel. And the reason I'm redoing it is because the original video, which I uploaded back in August of 2023, there were a lot of issues with the video, such as my face freezing in the intro, a couple slides were frozen at points. There was a lot of things that made that video kind of unwatchable. But now, I can assure you this video should not have those things, and also I'm going to try to correct any misinformation that I had said in that original video because I didn't really know what I was doing. But anyways, let's take a look at the map of US 322. We can see that it starts in Cleveland at the public square, and it goes through eastern Ohio, diagonally across Pennsylvania near Erie, and it goes down to Philadelphia, and then it goes through New Jersey before ending at Atlantic City. And it's at this point that I must remind you that if you like this content, please be sure to leave a like and a comment down below if you have any feedback or if you want to discuss this route any further. And if you really enjoyed the video, please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. So without further ado, let us begin our 494-mile US 322 eastbound journey. So, in my original 322 eastbound video, I showed you these signs telling you that 322 begins straight ahead and it starts concurrent with US 6, and we get some information for a bunch of other roads in Cleveland. However, in 2015 and 2016, Cleveland renovated the public square, and now there is a bus station in the center of the square, and these signs are no longer there. So now we get even less information about US 322 than we had before, which was already basically nothing. Our first mention of 322 having begun is at this turn where we split off of US 6 after a few blocks of having been concurrent with it to start the route. And our first major intersection on 322 eastbound is Interstate 90. And we can see this overhead telling us that if we want to get onto westbound Interstate 90 to Interstate 71 and 77, you want to keep left. And then we get another overhead telling us that if we want to get to eastbound US 90 to Ohio Route 2, you want to keep right. However, on Interstate 90 itself, US 322 isn't referred to by its number. It only gets signed for Chester Avenue, which is kind of lame. We're just getting the Kentucky treatment here. And now I jumped ahead a little bit to the beginning of our very brief concurrency with US 20. And like I just said, this concurrency is very brief. We only go about a block or so of these routes being concurrent before 322 splits off once again to just be by itself, as it joins up with Mayfield Road, which it will continue to follow for the rest of its time in the Cleveland metro area. And now we are meeting Interstate 271 is getting signed north for going back to Cleveland and Erie, Pennsylvania, and southbound is getting signed for Columbus, so those are good choices right there. However, if we look on Interstate 271 itself, we can see that we are getting Mayfield Road and Gates Mills, and I don't really like Gates Mills being up there because it's a really, really small town that's only a couple miles east of here. And also, I don't really like that they're just signing well. I mean, I guess if you want to sign the name of the road, this is how you would do it. But no, I still don't agree with Gates Mills. As here is why we are getting signed for that. We are meeting Ohio Route 174 here, and we get literally no information at all for US 322, just that we're meeting it, and it doesn't even get like east, west shields. It just gets this direction arrow thingy that you see a lot in the Midwest. And now we are in Chesterland, Ohio, meeting Ohio Route 306. And I believe this is what should be signed on Interstate 271 for 322 eastbound, because Chesterland is like an unincorporated community. However, about 7,000 people live here, so I think it's more than fine to sign. And on this intersection, we can see we are now getting signed for Orwell in 25 miles, which, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of knocked it in my original 322 westbound video for being a pretty tiny town, and it was getting signed over Cleveland. But in this case, I think it is actually the right choice for us going this way, because I feel like the next logical choice after, which would be Meadville, Pennsylvania, I think it's just a bit too far away to be signed here. And I mean, who is realistically taking 322 all this way just to get over to Pennsylvania? You're better off just taking like 480 to 80 or something, I don't know. But in any case, when we get to Orwell though, the only sign we see at the junction that we have here, if we look on the road that we're meeting, we only get Junction US 322. We don't get any sort of control cities or anything, so I don't really like that. But now we are meeting Ohio Route 11 here, almost at the end of eastern Ohio, and we can see that it is getting signed for Ashtabula and Youngstown. And originally I said that 322 eastbound should be signed for Youngstown because of this interchange right here, when that is just absolutely nonsensical and literally nobody would go this way to get to Youngstown. So there's my first little piece of misinformation that I gave in the original 322 eastbound video cleared up. But anyways, on Ohio Route 11 we can see that 322 is now getting signed for Orwell and Jamestown, Pennsylvania. And I really think 322 westbound should be Cleveland, because, well, Cleveland is a massive city and that is where it goes. So sign it here. And we, on 322 eastbound, are now getting signed for Jamestown, Pennsylvania. Now, someone in the comments of my original 322 eastbound video said that apparently Jamestown is like a famous tourist attraction in western Pennsylvania or something like that, and that's why it should be signed. But I don't know. I still feel like it really shouldn't be the control city for 322 eastbound, because it's a really small town and we're not that far away from Meadville, which has a junction with Interstate 79. We're going to meet up with US 6 once again, and both of those routes go there along with US 19. So yeah, I feel like Jamestown could be a fine secondary, but if we're going to be talking about primaries, I feel like Meadville is the way to go. And now here is the, I believe, the only mileage sign I could ever find in Ohio on this route, and it gets an up arrow with Jamestown as the only thing. Again, I really feel like there should be two lines here, and Meadville, Pennsylvania should be on the bottom one. But anyway, now we come into Pennsylvania and we don't get any sort of welcome at all. Well, I mean, I guess if you count Crawford County as being a welcome, but there's no like welcome to Pennsylvania sign or anything, so that's kind of lame. And now our first junction that we have here in Pennsylvania is Route 58, and we are going to be concurrent with it for a brief time as we go into Jamestown. And now we can see this is where Pennsylvania 58 is splitting off, getting signed for Greenville, and now we are getting signed for Conneaut Lake, which, again, that's where we meet back up with US 6 and are going to have another concurrency with it. But again, I feel like you should really just go with Meadville and have Conneaut Lake being a secondary, because Conneaut Lake is another really, really small town. But on our first mileage sign in Pennsylvania, I did not get this in the original video, so I'd like to thank the Xavier456 for pointing this mileage sign out to me. And now we're getting Conneaut Lake on the top line at 10 miles away, and Meadville is our bottom line at 21 miles away. So that is good to see, and I really like this mileage sign. However, now we are going to be meeting up with Pennsylvania Route 18, which is the longest state route in Pennsylvania, and we can see that we're getting signed still for Conneaut Lake at only 5 miles away as we become concurrent with Pennsylvania 18, and yeah, I don't like that at all. So now here in Conneaut Lake, we are joining up with US 6 once again, along with Pennsylvania 18 still. And also, it should be mentioned here that we are also turning onto Pennsylvania 285 and going to have a very, very brief, like 1 block concurrency with 285, but they don't mention it here. And in fact, here at the sheets here in Conneaut Lake, we can see that Pennsylvania 285 is splitting off. So, yeah, I don't really know why it's not mentioned back there. Now, just east of Conneaut Lake, we can see this Junction Pennsylvania 18 sign, which is kind of weird because what's going to be happening just up ahead is that Pennsylvania 18 is going to be leaving our concurrency. So I don't really understand why this sign says Junction Pennsylvania 18 if we're not really meeting it, it's just splitting off from us. But in any case, here is where Pennsylvania 18 splits off from us, as we can see a mileage sign on the other side of our intersection for Meadville 5 miles away, and it only gets 1 line, so I feel like you could have other stuff on that sign for US 6 and maybe US 19 as well, because we're going to be meeting up with it. But I mean, I suppose if you're just going to do one, then Meadville is fine, because it's a pretty decently sized town and there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. And also, here is a direction sign for Pennsylvania 18 where it is getting signed for Conneautville and Girard, which I mistakenly said was in Ohio, but I learned that that is actually like a suburb of Erie, and Girard, Ohio is actually southwest of here, so they're not signing Pennsylvania 18 for Girard, Ohio. So there's another piece of misinformation clarified. And now we are meeting up and going to be concurrent with northbound US 19 here at this roundabout, where southbound 19 is getting signed for Mercer, and northbound Pennsylvania 98, which we are also meeting at this roundabout, is getting signed for Fairview. Here is a look inside the roundabout as northbound US 19 joins up with us. And in the distance, we can see another 1-line mileage sign with Meadville at 4 miles away, along with reassurance shields for our 3 US routes. So, again, I'd really rather just see another city on this sign, with Meadville being the top line, but I mean, I guess this is PennDOT we're talking about, so yeah, I guess it's kind of to be expected that they wouldn't have great signage. But anyway, just a little further down the road, now we are meeting Interstate 79, and it gets its awesome control cities of Erie and Pittsburgh. Also, here at this southbound ramp for it, we get this awesome view. This is really beautiful. Although I just kind of wish that these trees over here had their leaves on them, because the last few pictures we have been looking at were all taken in November 2022, and I'm assuming that they were taken a bit later in the month because, yeah, again, there's no leaves on any of these trees, and I really would have liked to see this spot in fall colors, but whatever. Once again, 79 getting great control cities, which is rare to see in Pennsylvania, and again, just amazing scenery right here. By far the best we've had on this entire route so far. If we look on Interstate 79, we can see that we are still getting signed for Meadville, which, I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because this is where you would get off of 79 for Meadville. Again, I'd kind of just like to see another city. And here on this bridge, as we cross French Creek, we can see that in 1,200 feet, we are going to be splitting off of US 6 and 19 as they get no control cities, and we just get the Kentucky treatment of Park Avenue. I feel like this should just say Franklin, because that will be the next significant town that we pass through. Although, I guess, in a way, it kind of doesn't make sense for 19 to get a control city, because I feel like if you wanted to go anywhere on 19, you might as well have just gotten on 79. Here is where US 322 splits off of 619, as we also get 2 Pennsylvania 27 straight ahead, as we get a nice sign for Welcome to Meadville. And in the background, we can also see that we're going to be making a right turn, and then we're going to have to make another one very shortly down the road to continue on 322 eastbound. And now, leaving Meadville, we get a mileage sign with Cochranton on the top line at 9 miles away, and our bottom line is Franklin at 24 miles away. So, as I just mentioned before, Franklin is the next sizable town that we'll be going through, so I think it does make sense to be our control city from here. And just before we get to Franklin, we are meeting Pennsylvania 417 at this pretty cool looking intersection, and we're going to be turning right to stay on 322. And now here we are in downtown Franklin as we get these interesting overhead signs which tell you that if you want to go north on Pennsylvania 8 and US 62, when we have our very brief courtesy with those routes, all these signs just have text on them, so this is pretty interesting. And now when we actually turn to become concurrent with those routes, we do get the proper shield. So I just thought that was pretty interesting, that last picture. And now here is where that very brief courtesy ends, as we continue to stay straight to continue following US 322, while 8 and 62 split off to our left. Leaving Franklin, here is where we cross the Allegheny River, and I think this is pretty beautiful right here, so I really wanted to show this. And now we get a mileage sign with only one line, which has Clarion 28 miles away on it. And I would kind of like to see Brookville also on this mileage sign, because it's not very much farther away from Clarion, and we do have a couple of important junctions there. Although I suppose Clarion is also a pretty important town in its own right, so it does make sense to have on this mileage sign. Again, I would just kind of like to see Brookville as well, though. But Clarion should not be ignored, as I had said in my original Eastbound video, so yeah, I am not proud of having said that. Anyway, now here we are meeting Pennsylvania 338, and the only reason I'm showing this intersection where it is getting signed for Coal Hill and Knox, actually I believe 338 ends here, so Coal Hill's for another undesignated road. The only reason I'm showing this intersection is because we get mentions of 2 Interstate 80 eastbound and westbound here, and this is the first mention that we get of Interstate 80 on this route. There's going to be a lot of those to come. And now here in Clarion, we're meeting up with Pennsylvania 68, and it is getting signed for East Brady, and we get another route to Pennsylvania 36, which is getting signed for Leaper. On the other side of Clarion, now we're getting a mileage sign with Corsica on the top line at 6 miles away, because we're meeting Pennsylvania 949 in that town, and Brookville is on our bottom line at 12 miles away. I kind of would like to see Brookville being on the top line and maybe DuBois being on the bottom line, because that's the next significant place we're going to go through. But I suppose Brookville is fine as the next primary, because we meet a few different routes in Brookville, and if you wanted to get to DuBois, you might as well just get on Interstate 80, although I don't know. I feel like Corsica, you really don't need that there. It's 6 miles away, but I don't know. Anyways, now we are meeting Interstate 80 directly, and it gets its awful control cities of DuBois, where they forgot to capitalize the B, as opposed to New York City, and Sharon, where it should absolutely be Cleveland. But I'm not going to talk about this anymore, because I went on a lengthy rant in the original 322 Eastbound video, which you can see in the top right corner. And I do not want to bog down the pacing of this video by talking about this for way longer than I really need to right here. So yeah, go check out that video for further thoughts about this interchange. Anyway, if we look on the interchange at this direction sign, we can see that Brookville is our eastbound control, and that does make sense. Now, just west of Brookville, we are meeting and going to become concurrent with Pennsylvania routes 36 and 28. Northbound Pennsylvania 36 to Interstate 80 is getting signed for Leaper, and southbound Pennsylvania 28 is getting signed for New Bethlehem, when it should be Kittanning. Oh, no. There is nothing in New Bethlehem. That is just where Pennsylvania 28 meets Pennsylvania 66. Be Kittanning, because that is a bigger town, and 28 meets 422 there. Ugh, 10 dolts. Stupid. Anyway, on the other side of that intersection, we get these reassurance shields of East US 322, Pennsylvania 28, and southbound 36. So we are going 3 different directions on 3 different routes all at the same time, so that is really cool. And now here in downtown Brookville, Pennsylvania 36 is splitting off to go to Altoona. I did a whole rant about a mileage sign off of this intersection that should not have been there, and that just loaded the length of the video. Anyway, here's where Pennsylvania 28 splits off from us to go over to Interstate 80 once again. And on the other side of Brookville, we got a mileage sign with Reynoldsville on the top line at 10 miles away, and Clearfield is our bottom line at 39 miles away. So, to be honest with you, I think Clearfield is actually not the right choice for the bottom line here, because before we get to Clearfield, we'll be meeting up with US 219 and also 119, which will go over to 219, which will take you over to DuBois, which is twice as big as Clearfield, and I think that is what should be on our bottom line instead. In Reynoldsville, we're meeting the northern end of Pennsylvania 310, and it gets signed south for Punxsutawney, which quite a few routes in this area get signed for because they all meet up with US 119, which is going there. And after passing through Reynoldsville, we get a mileage sign with Luthersburg on the top line at 9 miles away and Clearfield on the bottom line at 27 miles away. And I really think, again, you should just have Du Bois being on the bottom line because, you know, it is so much bigger than Clearfield, and there are a couple of junctions that we will have there that are really important. Or maybe you could just have Du Bois on the top line and Clearfield on the bottom line, because really the only reason they're signing Luthersburg is because that is actually where we meet US 219 and are going to be concurrent with it a little bit. But anyways, now we're meeting US 119, but before we even get to the intersection, we get a mileage sign with Du Bois on the top line at 3 miles away, because that's where 119 North will take you over to 219, and 219 will go into Du Bois. And then we get Ebensburg on the bottom line for US 219 southbound, even though we don't meet it for a couple more miles. So this is really interesting. You don't see this too often, where you get a mileage sign before an intersection. That alone is kind of rare. And to be favoring a route you're not even meeting at the intersection, yeah, that is just even crazier to see. But anyways, here at the actual intersection with US 119, we can see we are getting signed straight ahead for Clearfield. Du Bois is for 119 North, and 119 South is getting signed for Punxsutawney, because again, that's where it will go to south of here. And then on the other side of that intersection, we got another reassurance shield and mileage sign, where Luthersburg is on the top line at 5 miles away and Clearfield is on the bottom line at 22 miles away. So I think this actually does make a little bit of sense, because if you were going to Du Bois, you would have gotten off at 119 and you'd take 219 over to Du Bois that way. You wouldn't go all the way to 219 and then make a left turn. So I think, again, Luthersburg does kind of make sense being on the top line. But anyways, now we are going to be meeting up with and becoming concurrent with US 219 southbound as it gets signed for Ebensburg, and we get signed for Clearfield 20 miles away. So I think these choices make sense. And on our next mileage sign, we also get reassurance shields for 219 and 322. And this one has 3 lines where Luthersburg is on the top line at 3 miles away. Clearfield is 20 miles away on the second line, and Ebensburg is the bottom line at 58 miles away. I'm not gonna lie, I almost kind of want to see State College on this sign, although I can understand that maybe it's just a bit too far away. But I feel like you could also mention Phillipsburg, because that's where 322 is going after Clearfield, and there's also a bunch of junctions there. But in any case, now here we are in Luthersburg, where we get a whole bunch of information right here. Clearfield and Ebensburg are still signed for us. Westbound 322 is getting signed for Brookville, and 219 North is getting signed for Du Bois. And then we also meet Pennsylvania Route 410 here, which is getting signed for Punxsutawney. And when we split off of US 219, it is getting signed for Curwensville and not Ebensburg. So why is PennDOT being inconsistent here? That should say Ebensburg. So that I really don't like to see. And on our next mileage sign, we still get Clearfield on the bottom line at 17 miles away, where we get Rockton on the top line at 4 miles away. And to be honest, I still kind of disagree with this mileage sign. I feel like Clearfield should be on the top line and maybe put Phillipsburg on the bottom line, because there's really nothing in Rockton at all. There's just another road that'll take you back to DuBois that nobody would be taking. And speaking of Rockton, here is the intersection with that road I just mentioned, as we still get signed for Clearfield in 13 miles. And then on our next mileage sign, Phillipsburg does come onto our bottom line at 30 miles away. We are meeting and going to be having a concurrency with Pennsylvania Route 153, as northbound 153 is getting signed to Interstate 80, and we can see another direction sign for Clearfield straight up ahead. And on our next mileage sign, we get Clearfield on the top line at 6 miles away, and Phillipsburg is 23 miles away on the bottom line. And I do think this sign makes sense, because Clearfield is where these two routes will be splitting off, and that is still an important place to sign. And Phillipsburg, again, makes sense to have on the bottom line. Here is a pretty nice view of some mountains that we go down on our concurrency with Pennsylvania 153. And now here is where Pennsylvania 153 splits off to go into downtown Clearfield as we cross the west branch of the Susquehanna River. Pretty nice right here. A little bit further up the road, we are making a left turn here as we are still signed for Phillipsburg, and we also get a 280 shield. And there seems to be a gantry right next to us. I wonder what is on this gantry. Okay, so apparently this lane to our left, it's only for traffic going to the CVS that's next to us. And what the heck is this abomination? Oh my goodness gracious, this might be the ugliest road sign I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, so to start off, we have an acorn shield that is even more deformed than some of the ones that we have seen on US 19 in Erie and US 30 in Bedford. The east here is in like Helvetica font, and the 322 appears to be in a font that's not Highway Gothic, and it looks really, really bad. Oh my goodness gracious. This is an absolute insult to the MUTCD. Who put this up? Was it PennDOT? Was it the Borough of Clearfield themselves? Whoever it is, that needs to be replaced. Anyway, we get another mileage sign east of Clearfield, and Woodland is on our top line at 4 miles away, and we got Phillipsburg on the bottom line at 15 miles away. And at this point, now I really think you should be signing State College, because it's not really that much farther away. There's really nothing in Woodland. It's just a junction with Pennsylvania 970, which takes you over to Interstate 80. So yeah, put Phillipsburg and State College on this mileage sign. So here is where we meet Pennsylvania 970, and we can see that Woodland isn't even on Pennsylvania 970, which I would assume is the reason for signing Pennsylvania 970. 970 goes over to Shawville to Interstate 80. And then on the other side of that intersection, we got a mileage sign with Phillipsburg 11 miles away on the top line, and State College comes onto our bottom line at 35 miles away. Yay! That makes me really happy to see. We are just about to get to Phillipsburg, and here we are meeting Pennsylvania 53 and going to have a very, very brief concurrency with it, as straight ahead we get signed for Coalport and State College. Coalport is for Pennsylvania 53, and northbound 53 is turning left for Cuylertown. once again, this concurrency is very, very brief. Here is where Pennsylvania 53 is about to split off from us as we cross over this bridge into Center County. Here is the actual intersection where they split off, and we can see that it is getting signed to Pennsylvania 350, and we are getting signed to Pennsylvania 504. I think there is a direction sign at this intersection, which also lists Tyrone. Anyways, here's where we meet Pennsylvania 504, and turning left, it is getting signed for Unionville, where it will meet alternate US 220 and end there. And West 504 just goes back into downtown Phillipsburg, where it will end there. So I don't know why 504 doesn't just end right here, but I don't know. Whatever. Straight ahead, we are still getting signed for State College in 24 miles, so that's really cool. And now from this point forward, I'm going to be showing you a bunch of pictures that I took on 322 myself. Phillipsburg is the farthest west point I've been on 322, and at this point we used to have 2 reassurance shields for 322, although the one on this telephone pole has fallen off, but we got a mileage sign with Port Matilda on the top line at 12 miles away, and State College is on the bottom line at 24 miles away still, so good stuff. We are east of Phillipsburg and have become a 4-lane divided freeway, and at this point we are quite far away from the westbound lanes, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my dad here, because he hates driving on this part of 322 at night and in the winter, because we go down a steep winding road where it can be pretty easy to lose control and possibly have an accident. And here is our first mention of Interstate 99, which we're going to be meeting up with and becoming concurrent with shortly. And we can see that it is getting signed southbound for Altoona and Port Matilda, just because when we meet up with it, we're going to have an option to go straight through the intersection to go over to Port Matilda, which absolutely should not be signed. And here is another piece of misinformation that I wanted to clear up from my original video. We get this sign that tells you to Milesburg next exit. Yes, you want to get on alternate US 220 at this exit and take that over to Milesburg. And I said originally that you should just take 99 north to Interstate 80 westbound, where eventually you'll run into Milesburg. That is just more miles you'll put on your car, and it's a bit slower that way. So yes, this sign is correct. You'll want to take this exit and then stay straight on alternate 220 to get to Milesburg. Then we get another sign saying that if you want to go to State College, you should use 322 eastbound. And now here is the ramp to southbound Interstate 99 and US 220, Altoona and Port Matilda, as we also get another 2 Interstate 80 shield. At the ramp for 2 Interstate 99 and US 220 southbound, we can see a mileage sign that has Port Matilda on the top line and Altoona on the bottom line at 25 miles away. And we also get a slap-on sign for Milesburg, which is 19 miles away. And I did show this in my original eastbound video, but here is my own picture of this stupid slap-on sign afterthought thingy. Like, really, you couldn't get a mileage sign with 3 lines on it? That's just ridiculous. Anyway, here is the point where we're about to join up with northbound Interstate 99 and US 220, and you can see the road that we're going to go on up in the distance, so this is pretty cool. And then our next mileage sign has State College on the top line at 13 miles away, and we get Williamsport on the bottom line at 70 miles away, because that is where US 220 will go after it splits off of Interstate 99. And then here we are starting to approach exit 69 for Atherton Street. This is the first sign that we get for it, which is also a business 322. And 1 mile further up the road, we are getting another overhead for that exit, as we also see a sign telling us a couple of the State College exits that we will have. Now we're only half a mile away from that exit, and Tough Trees is coming up in 2 miles. Now here is where we are meeting Business 322, Atherton Street. And now it is not getting signed as exit 69, even though those signs were saying it was before, which is really weird. We also get a pull through for Interstate 99, US 220, and 322 for Lewistown. That's fine. And Bellefonte, which should absolutely be Williamsport or New York City because of going over to Interstate 80. And now here is a closer look at that exit sign at the ramp. So yeah, I mean, if the number is here, then why wasn't it on that last sign? Here is a pretty bad picture that I took of this mileage sign, where Bellefonte is on the top line at 13 miles away and Lewistown is on the bottom line at 32 miles away. So, yeah, again, not a great picture, but it's actually the only one I have of this mileage sign. And then we can see another sign just a little bit further down the road telling us that Lewistown is on 322 and not 99 and 220. So if you want to go to Lewistown, follow US 322 East. And then we also get a sign telling us that if you want to go to Beaver Stadium and the Bryce Jordan Center, take exit 73. As we also get a overhead listing showing a diagram of how exit 73 works, and we get 99, 220, 280 Bellefonte. Here is where 322 actually splits off of Interstate 99 and US 220, still getting pulled through for Bellefonte to Interstate 80, should be Williamsport, New York City. And technically at this point, you also would have had other options to get to State College, which is on our pull through here, along with Lewistown. You could put Harrisburg on there and have Lewistown on the top line, or State College in Harrisburg, I don't know. But, yeah. I don't know. I feel like this sign could be fine as it is, although if Lewistown were to go away, I wouldn't really cry about it. But anyway, here is another picture of mine that I took on 322 just after leaving 99 and 220. And on this particular day when I took it, it was pretty hazy because of some wildfires that were going on in Canada. But I think this is a great view right here. And now here we are meeting Pennsylvania 26, which will take you into downtown State College. And we're getting pulled through once again for Lewistown. Again, I feel like you could put Harrisburg on this sign, but I don't know. I feel like I should just leave it to you guys in the comments. What do you want to see here? I feel like both of them could be fine. Anyways, now we are meeting Pennsylvania 144, and this interchange only opened a few years ago, which is pretty cool. I've watched them basically build this interchange from the ground up, and although here's the thing, if you get off here, you have to go through a roundabout first to get back to Pennsylvania 144, so kinda indirect, but anyways, here is our next mileage sign. It's actually been about 20 miles or so since we've split off of Interstate 99 and US 220, and this is the first one we're getting. And it has Milroy on the top line at 8 miles away, and Lewistown is on our bottom line at 17 miles away. So I really think at this point you just have Lewistown be on the top line and Harrisburg being the bottom line. Although Milroy is a somewhat decent sized town. Although, yeah, I don't know if it really should be on the top line. 2 miles out from the Milroy exit, we are getting this pretty awesome view as we go around this curve here. So really cool with the mountains. And here is the Milroy exit, where there is, like I said, a couple restaurants and stuff, including a Dairy Queen in case you want to get a Blizzard or whatever at Dairy Queen. Anyway, here is our next mileage sign, and now Lewistown is on the top line at 7 miles away. We get Harrisburg on the bottom line at 67 miles away, so pretty cool to see. Now we are meeting Pennsylvania Route 655, which gets signed for Belleville, which is south of here, and Reedsville, just north of here, although right on the other side of this intersection, Pennsylvania 655 northbound ends, so I don't know why it doesn't just end right here, once again, just like Pennsylvania 504 in Phillipsburg, but, I don't know. I really don't know. And then we got another mileage sign with Lewistown on the top line, Harrisburg 65 on the bottom. Again, good stuff. On the outskirts of Lewistown, we're getting the Burnham and Yeagertown exit, and I have quite a lot of fond memories of getting off of this exit because of this pizza place right here, Vince's Pizza and Family Restaurant. Been here quite a few times, would really recommend it if you're ever in Lewistown and you want some place to go to eat. Now we're getting a laundry list of Lewistown exits, and then we are meeting US 522 and 22. We're going to have a concurrency with all three routes very briefly as we get signed for Harrisburg, and West 22 South 522 being signed for Mount Union. And when 522 leaves, our concurrency is getting signed for Walnut Street, as opposed to Sealands Grove, where this road is going, and it will meet US 11 and 15. I pointed this out in my original 322 eastbound video, but I wanted to do it again because we have a very interesting situation here where we're about to have a railroad crossing on a major expressway. You don't see this too often, so we get a bunch of lights here that flash when a train is coming. And here is the East Charles Street exit where we also have that railroad crossing, so pretty interesting. And now we get a mileage sign with Mifflintown on our top line at 13 miles away. Harrisburg is on the bottom line at 60 miles away. And basically all of them are going to have Harrisburg on the bottom line until we get there, so we're not really going to focus too much on these. And now we are about to go through some mountains here as we're still concurrent with US 22, so pretty cool stuff right here. And we get some reassurance shields for 22 and 322. This is by far the longest concurrency that 322 has on its entire route. Nothing else even comes close because we're concurrent with 22 basically all the way to Harrisburg, which is, again, pretty far away from here. Here's the next mileage sign that I wanted to show you, and on the top line we get Junction US 11 and 15 at 8 miles away, and Harrisburg is 26 miles away on the bottom line. Now here is where we meet US 1115 getting signed for Sealands Grove and Camp Hill. And Sealands Grove is for northbound. I think that's a fine choice. And we got Camp Hill on the bottom line of this overhead sign, which should be Gettysburg or Carlisle, because that is where these routes will go and are much more significant than Camp Hill, although I do have fond memories of eating at an Arby's in Camp Hill, where my dad would used to take me to meet up with my grandpa, where he would finish driving me down to Virginia. But anyways, the Juniata River and the Susquehanna River combine forces as we meet Pennsylvania 147 getting signed north for Halifax, which should absolutely be Sunbury or Millerstown, because that is where 147 will meet US 209. But we can see some nice fall trees here, and we get a better look over the river as we look out to our right. Very, very beautiful scenery right here. Our next mileage sign that we see has Interstate 81 on the top line at 8 miles away, and Harrisburg still holding up on the bottom line at 12 miles away. And I do think this kind of makes sense, because any places that we'd be going to on 322 east of Harrisburg are just a bit too far away and too small to be signed. And then we get another mileage sign which has an 81 shield on it, and both of these things are 4 miles closer. Here is where we meet Interstate 81 and are going to have a brief concurrency with it as US 22 splits off. It is getting signed for Harrisburg, and Pennsylvania 230 is also listed on that sign, although it should be 2 Pennsylvania 230 because 230 is not at this interchange. 22 meets 230 just a little bit further east of this interchange. 81 South is getting signed for Carlisle, which should absolutely be Hagerstown, Maryland, or Roanoke, Virginia if you want to be extra fancy. And we get signed to Interstate 83, Hershey, and Hazleton, because that's where 81 is going to go. Although Hershey is fine for us, that Hazleton should absolutely be something else. Here's where we split off of Interstate 81 at exit 70 as we get south Interstate 83, east US 322 Pennsylvania Turnpike, Hershey and York, Baltimore. And we get Interstate 81 North to Interstate 78, Hazleton and Allentown. And I went on a whole ramble about this in the Eastbound video. So you know what? To save time, I'm just going to do this. Alright, there we go. Now we have better signs here. Here is something I did not show in the original 322 Eastbound video. We are meeting US 22 once again, and it just gets the Kentucky treatment of Jonestown Road, so I would like to see a control city on there, please. Now we are splitting off of Interstate 83 at exit 47 as we get signed for Hershey, Derry Street, and Paxton Street. Interstate 83 is getting pulled southbound for Harrisburg and York, and at this overhead we can also see that we have an exit on 83 coming up for Interstate 283 South to Interstate 76, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and that is getting signed for Airport and Lancaster. Also, here is an interesting fun fact that I actually probably pointed out more eloquently in the original video, but these signs actually don't say this anymore. If we look at a more recent street view, we can see that now the 322 sign says Eisenhower Boulevard, and the 283 sign now says Harrisburg International Airport. And I don't know, I kind of thought that the old signs gave you better information, but whatever. We also got a sign here telling us that if you want to go to Eisenhower Boulevard, you want to stay in the left lane, and that is the reason why Eisenhower Boulevard was on that sign back there. Also, we're passing under some train tracks here, so that is pretty cool. Here is the ramp where we will turn to stay on eastbound US 322 as we get 2 reassurance shields here in case you were not paying attention. And here is an overhead view of what all of this looks like. At the end of our ramp here, we can see that we are right next to northbound Interstate 83, which gets a sign where it exits itself that says, to Interstate 81, you want to follow northbound Interstate 83 and West 322 as it gets signed for Hazleton, which is, again, the wrong choice for that. Although West 322 does get signed for State College, so that is really cool. I like to see that. And we get a mile marker right here that tells us that US 322 has been in Pennsylvania for 221.2 miles, which is actually not accurate. I did some calculations on Google Maps and found out that it has actually been 268 miles since the Ohio border. So, no, PennDOT, that is wrong. You should take down these mile markers because they are pretty pointless anyways. After another mile or so, they just go away again. Anyway, on our next mileage sign, which is a 3-line one, we get Homostown on the top line at 3 miles away, Hershey is on the second line at 8 miles away, and we get Lebanon on the bottom line at 20 miles away, which is there because of the junction that we will have with US 422 coming up shortly, and US 422 goes to Lebanon. And here is that junction where we can see that we are getting signed for Ephrata, and that is correct, as US 422 goes straight ahead. I mentioned this in the original 322 eastbound video, but this interchange has always held a special place in my heart because if we look to our left out over the interchange, we can see a bunch of restaurants and stuff, and that bridge you can see in the distance carries a railroad track. I always thought this was a pretty cool place to stop and watch trains when I was younger. But anyway, here is something I did not show in the original 322 eastbound video. We cross over the Pennsylvania Turnpike, but we don't actually directly intersect it. If you want to get on the Turnpike, you have to take Pennsylvania 72 here, and it is getting signed to Interstate 76, PA Turnpike, and Lancaster, so that is a good control for 72. And once again, we can see another overhead for us getting signed for Ephrata. Here is where we cross over the Pennsylvania Turnpike and don't interchange directly with it. As we can also see, this is mile 272.7 on the Turnpike, so pretty cool numbers there. On the outskirts of Ephrata, we're meeting Pennsylvania 272, and it is getting signed for Akron, that being Akron, Pennsylvania, and it is also getting signed for Lancaster. And northbound, it gets signed for Reading, so that is a good choice. And on this interchange, we're getting signed for Ephrata, because we're not quite downtown yet. And in downtown Ephrata, we actually get a mileage sign right here, which has Hinkletown on the top line. This is another 3-line mileage sign. Blue Ball is on the second line. And we get Downingtown on the bottom line at 30 miles away. So that is pretty cool. Downingtown is like a suburb of Philly, but I think it's fine for us to be signed for it because we don't actually go to Philadelphia. And I said in the original video we should be signed for Philadelphia, but it's just too far away from here. So, and also you would have had better routes to get to Philadelphia, probably like getting on the Turnpike. I don't know. Either way, on the other side of Ephrata, here we are meeting US 222, which is also getting signed for Lancaster, and north is getting signed to Interstate 76, the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and also for Reading. Also, a fun fact about this interchange, it is one of only 3 diverging diamond interchanges in Pennsylvania. There are quite a lot more of them in these great United States as a whole. But either way, after that interchange, now we get another 3-line mile sign with Hinkletown on the top line at only 1 mile away. So I feel like you could have Blue Ball being there on the top line at 6 miles away. And we get Honeybrook being 14 miles away on the bottom line, which again should be Downingtown because it was on the bottom line at that last mile sign, and Downingtown is quite a lot bigger than Honeybrook. But anyways, now we're meeting US 30 here, and they get signed west for Coatesville, which is only 5 miles away, and that is not a great choice. I feel like you should just sign Lancaster, even though you would have had other options to get to Lancaster. I'd still like to see something farther than 5 miles away and bigger. Coatesville's not really that big. But, oh, that is the least of this interchange's problems. Now here at the turn to get on eastbound US 30, it is incorrectly getting signed as US 322, and its control city is Axton! And absolutely should be Philly, because US 30 is going into the heart of Philly. What the heck, PennDOT? What are you doing here? This is absolutely stupid. Holy crap. And you know what makes even less sense? Apparently, it really is US 322 turning here, at least according to them, because this imagery right here is from 2012, and we can see that the sign still says that this is US 322 turning here. So they have not fixed this mistake in over a decade. Oh my goodness gracious. This is, like I said, PennDOT's stupidity on full display here. Also, we can see that we are getting alternate truck east business US 30 when, again, this is literally US 30 itself we're turning on to here, so that doesn't make any sense at all. And here is another sign for alternate truck business 30. We're ending the westbound segment of that route. And now we are turning left here to continue on east US 322 along with east business US 30. And on the outskirts of Downingtown, we are now turning right here, sign for Westchester, which now that I think about it, I guess it kind of does make sense, because Westchester is a fairly substantial place. Again, we don't actually go to Philadelphia, although I'd kind of like it to be signed anyways. But Westchester actually isn't a terrible place to sign for 322, because it does have like 20,000 people or so. But anyways, now we are meeting up with business US 322. And we can see a sign in the distance that says, if you want to go to Chester and Wilmington on regular 322 East, you want to keep left. And then we get another sign telling us that if we want to go to Westchester, where the business route is going, stay in the right lane. And now we get one last sign here at the actual turn, telling through trucks that they should follow US 202 and 322. And we also get a sign telling us that Pennsylvania 3 is going to be turning left here, although we don't actually meet that route here at this intersection. It's actually a little bit further down 202 and 322, so I feel like they should just replace that east marker with a 2 instead. And now here at the direction sign in the background of the last image, we can see that Westchester is straight ahead in 2 miles, and our left turn is signed for Wilmington and Chester. Wilmington is for 202, and I feel like that Chester could just say Philadelphia for 322. And now here we are meeting south US 202. We have no option to get to northbound from here. As we merge onto US 202, we get a reassurance shield for both of the routes on our concurrency, and we also get a mile 10.6 marker. I'm guessing this is for US 202. And now we get a laundry list of Westchester exits, where we can see that Pennsylvania 3 is our second one in 3/4 of a mile. So once again, PA 3 was not at that left turn there, back there. And now we get a pull through for US 202 and 322 with Wilmington and Chester on it. Again, would kind of like to see Philly on there. And now here is our exit for Pennsylvania 3. We don't get any information for westbound, and eastbound is getting signed for Newtown Square. Then we get another laundry list of Westchester exits. And now we are splitting off of US 202 and going to become concurrent with US 1 as we get signed for Concordville, which is only a mile away. And also, I think Concordville is like an unincorporated community. So, again, I would absolutely prefer to see Philly on here. Why don't you want to sign it? Or even Chester would be better. But now, here is where we are splitting off of US 1 as it gets signed for Media and we get signed for Chester on this direction sign. And now we get a 2 Interstate 95 shield. So again, I feel like that's all the more reason that you should sign Philly on 322, because it goes over to 95 and takes you to Philly. And now here is where we meet Interstate 95, and we're going to have a very, very brief concurrency with it. And in the distance, we could see that we're getting signed for Commodore Barry Bridge and Philadelphia. I feel like that should just say something in New Jersey, because that's where we are going after Chester. Or I guess Chester you could put on this sign, because that's the last major town that we're going to pass through on 322. Anyways, once we get onto Interstate 95, we end up in the far left lane as we get a sign right away telling us that the next exit is for East US 322 to Pennsylvania 291, Commodore Barry Bridge, and New Jersey. Because, of course, PennDOT and NJ.dot hate each other, and for that reason, we just can't sign a city in New Jersey. It has to just say New Jersey. That's just against the law. But anyway, here is the exit where we split off of Interstate 95, exit 4, and we get the same information that we did before. And now, as we get off of Interstate 95, we see a sign telling us that Pennsylvania 291 for Chester and Waterfront is our last exit in Pennsylvania. And now here we are getting onto the Commodore Barry Bridge as we get told that pedestrians and bicycles are prohibited beyond this point. You must drive a car if you want to cross this bridge. And now here is the exit for Pennsylvania 291 for Chester and Waterfront as we just get pulled through for New Jersey. Why doesn't this say Glassboro or Atlantic City or anything at all other than New Jersey on there? Stupid. Here's a look out over the Delaware River on the Commodore Barry Bridge at the Pennsylvania-New Jersey state line, and we don't get any sort of welcome into New Jersey either, at least not right here. And here we got a sign telling us that if we want to get to these different highways, we should follow US 322 East. And then we got another sign on the bridge for US 132, Interstate 295 North, coming up in 3/4 of a mile, because we're not going to have any direct access to Interstate 295 northbound. And now here we are meeting US 130 southbound, sign for Penns Grove. And we get East 322 to South 295 Glassboro. I think that does make sense. That is the next sizable place we're going to pass through on 322. And North 130 is getting signed to New Jersey 44 and North Interstate 295 for Trenton. And I think Trenton is fine to sign on 295 because I do believe 295 goes there. I could be wrong about that though. And now here is the actual split for 130 South, and we get the same information as before, just that we are now a little bit closer. Here is the ramp for northbound US 130 to Interstate 295 North for Camden now instead of Trenton. And this is inferior because Trenton is the capital of New Jersey, and you should absolutely be signing that. Although we are still getting pulled through for Glassboro, so that does make sense. And now, at the eastern edge of this whole interchange, we are getting a Welcome to New Jersey sign! Holy mackerel! You don't see this every day. That's amazing! Wow, why can't you have these on Interstate 76, Interstate 78, Interstate 80, all these other major highways where more people are likely to see them? Holy mackerel, this is awesome, New Jersey. Like, yeah, I'm really glad to see this. And here is one more pull through that we get for 322 eastbound Glassboro. And we get a mile marker telling us that we've been in New Jersey for 2.5 miles. And I really like seeing mile markers on US highways because, yeah, they're not interstates, they don't have exit numbers and stuff, but I don't know, I still like to know how far into a state I am. Here is a look at our interchange with southbound Interstate 295, and once again, you can see that we have no access to Interstate 295 northbound, so that's why you would have had to get off at US 130 back there. Let's take a look on Interstate 295 and see what our control city is on it. And it is Mullica Hill! Excuse me, where did Glassboro go? Now, we do get some helpful information about the New Jersey Turnpike, but where did Glassboro go? That should be what our control city is east of here. Oh my goodness gracious, New Jersey, you have already broken my goodwill towards you. But here is where we meet the New Jersey Turnpike, although on this sign it doesn't even get any control cities. It just says NJ Turnpike, even though they already have the logo for the Turnpike right there. So, how about list the control city for at least one direction right here. Although, I will show them again in my 322 westbound rebooted video because I do have a picture of those. And you can see them in the original 322 westbound video, which I will leave a card to up in the top right corner if you really want to see those. Anyway, now here in Glassboro, we are meeting and going to have a short concurrency with New Jersey Route 47, as we also get a direction sign telling us that our control city is now Atlantic City, and that does make sense because that is where this route will end, and it's a pretty famous and decently sizable city. And now here is where we turn left to split off of New Jersey 47. And now we get our last mileage sign that we will see in this video. We get Williamstown, 5 miles away on the top line. Mays Landing is on our second line at 27 miles away because we will be meeting US 40, and that's where that road will be going. And Atlantic City is on our bottom line at 41 miles away. So that is pretty good right there. Here is an interesting anomaly where we are meeting New Jersey 42, although we get a Junction US 322 shield when we're already on US 322. This is really weird, and I don't know why this is here. And at this right turn to stay on US 322, we are still getting signed for Atlantic City, and New Jersey 42 is getting signed for Camden and Sicklerville. And I think this is the route that you sign Camden on and not anything else, in the area. Now here we are meeting US 40 as it goes west to Mays Landing, and we are going to be concurrent with US 40 eastbound for the rest of our entire route. So I'm honestly not really sure why 322 just doesn't end here and 40 is the one that goes to Atlantic City, but I mean, I guess it is kind of a cool courtesy to end our route. So here at mile 50 of US 322 eastbound, this is where 40 eastbound traffic will merge in with us. And here we are crossing under the Garden State Parkway, although we have no direct access to it. You have to get on County Route 563 here in order to get on the Garden State Parkway. And we will be turning left here as we continue to be signed for Atlantic City. And now, here is our last major intersection of the video, US 9 North. And to turn onto northbound US 9, you have to get in the left lane here, and for US 9, you go to the stoplight and make a right turn. Now we are entering Atlantic City as we get this nice sign telling us. As we can see, a whole bunch of water on our sides here, especially on the right. And now we come to a drawbridge right before the end of the route. And here is our unceremonious end to US 40 and 322 eastbound. We don't get any N40 or 322 shield, which I think is really disappointing because we were concurrent with such a major route like US 40 and neither of these get end shields. So yeah, pretty disappointing, but it is what it is, I suppose. Alright, let us now talk about Quarter March 437's new and improved 2024 the way it should be for US 322 eastbound. So, to start, I'm going to say that from Cleveland it should be Chesterland because, yeah, again, that's technically like an unincorporated community or a CDP or something like that. But again, like, there's 7,000 people that live there, and you meet Ohio 306, so I think it's fine to be signed. And from Chesterland, I'd say Orwell is fine. Again, not exactly a massive place, but I mean, there are still like 1,500 people, and you meet another Ohio State route there, so again, Meadville a bit too far away to sign away, so sign Orwell. And then after Orwell, then I'd say definitely sign Meadville. You can have Jamestown and Conneaut Lake as secondaries. And then after Meadville, I'd go to Franklin. I'd say that's a fine choice because that's the next important town that you go through, east of Meadville. And then originally, I wasn't sure if Clarion or Brookville should be favored. I'd say honestly, just dual control them until you get to Clarion, and then just sign Brookville after that. And then I'd say Du Bois because that's the next place of significance you're going to go to because of meeting US 119, 219. And then after Du Bois, I'd say Clearfield because State College is just a little too far away to be signed, even though it is a major important place. But then after Clearfield, I definitely say sign Phillipsburg, but also maybe co-sign State College as well, because after Clearfield, then I feel like you're close enough to start signing State College, but Phillipsburg is also kind of important. And then after Phillipsburg, definitely State College. And then in State College, I would honestly be okay with co-signing Lewistown and Harrisburg, so put both of them on the signs. And then after Lewistown, definitely just sign Harrisburg. And then I'd say sign Ephrata after Harrisburg, because that's the next significant place along the way. And then originally I said you should start signing Philadelphia the whole rest of the way. Again, I feel like that's just too far away now. And you should probably just go with Downingtown, because Downingtown is also like kind of significant. And then sign Westchester, because Westchester is like 3 times the size of Downingtown, and it's also where 322 goes to. But then after that, I would definitely say sign Philadelphia because of meeting Interstate 95. And then afterwards, sign Glassboro and then Atlantic City. So there you go. There is what I think the control cities should be on 322 Eastbound now, after a year of having made these control city videos, having gotten some more experience and some insight from all of you. So here is something that wasn't in the original 322 Eastbound video, because at the time I didn't really know what other roads exactly that I would have wanted to cover. But now it is time for me to tell you my plans for the next few road videos on this channel. So we are going to take a little bit of a break from the 322 rebooting, and we are going to do a video on US 501, just because I wanted to do a road in the south, because most of my content is all like northeast stuff mostly. So that'll be the next video, and then we'll be doing the 322 westbound rebooted video. And after that, I wanted to make another Control City trip video. So we're going to be talking about the trip to Morgantown, West Virginia that I did back in May of 2024. So that'll be the next video to come out after this. So with all of that said, thank you all so much for watching this rebooted version of my 322 Eastbound video, and until the next video, everyone, you all have a good one. So, peace.